Yeah, well, so I think that we're still very much in the early days. Using the sports metaphor, you talk about being in the first or second inning. With kind of an American baseball metaphor, which really means that it's early. What has changed, though, and then we've seen this really in the past 5 years, I think more remarkably in the past 12 months, is that both sellers and buyers realize that this isn't a fad. This isn't a question of whether programmatic, will be the future of digital marketing. It really is a recognition that programmatic is the current state of digital marketing. And what that means is that we no longer talk to people about we no longer have to evangelize the vision of programmatic. We now talk about how to actually execute on it. So what's changed in the past year is a conversation that is less about vision and more about execution and how they actually use the tools. And so that's been nice because we now chat about how they operationalize rather than how they instead of talking to them about what they should do, we talk about what they are going to do and how they do it. So a lot less vision, a lot more execution and operational tactics. So one thing that's become very clear in the industry is that there really is a playbook. There's a way to do it, right? And so what we now talk to our customers about is the Programmatic Playbook, which has 5 distinct pieces. So it starts with understanding your customer, the layer of data insights, and that means marrying both your online and your offline insights into one common infrastructure. And really, nothing's changed since the beginning of time with marketing. You have to know who your customer is. Once you know who your customer is, it's easier to take the second step, which is giving them the right message, making sure that you give them really personalized creative. And again, all the creative is going to be fed from the insights that you have from that data platform. Once you have the message to the right customer, then you go to the third step of the playbook, which is activating it. And you have to have a global platform that allows you to manage to your audience. Once you have the audience organized and ready to take action on, you have to do something with it, which is the fourth play, which is the distribution of your message. And you have to do that in a cross-channel, kind of non-siloed way. You don't just do something in display and something in mobile and something in video. You do all three because you have the common audience who has to work against all 3 channels. And once you put the message out there, you have to do the last and critical play, which is attribution. What just happened? Right? And that feeds back into the first cycle of the insights of your customer. So what I described in the playbook is really a very nice virtuous cycle where every impression, every digital interaction is smarter than the last. Right? And each of those 5 plays involve products and involve workflow and involve organization. So when we talk to our customers about how they do it, we use that structure because what's happened in the past 5, 6, 7 years is very clearly those 5 plays are critical. You have to do each of them. You have to do them well. Each 5 actually feed into each other, and each 5 have very particular products that are in each of them. The data layer is where you find our Google Premium products, is where you find our Audience Center. The creative is where you find DoubleClick Rich Media and the need for dynamic creative. The platforms is where you find DoubleClick Campaign Manager and where you find Bid Manager. The distribution is where people are doing things with auction as well as doing things in reserve. It's where you find programmatic direct, right? All those media strategies, programmatic media strategies are in that 4th play. And then the last play again is where you find not only Google Premium but also our new acquisition, our Odometry acquisition. We're starting to really figure out how to tie together all the right attribution models to again feed back into how people are managing their audiences. So nothing's changed programmatically in terms of how you manage audience. What's changed is a realization of how the pieces really fit together into a unified view, a unified stack, and also the components and how they work together. Yeah, well, so within video, I think the entire industry, and video is no different, has a hard focus towards mobile. So I think for me, what's most exciting and interesting in video is the mobile interstitial. Right, because what that is, if you think about it, it's the mobile roadblock. Right? When the ad comes up, it takes over the entire screen, and you have the complete attention of the customer. And you can do that many different ways. The most effective, but the most interesting way, I think, is with video. Right? So when we're thinking about video, video in mobile, in that channel actually becomes the most interesting thing. And then beyond that, we're also seeing a lot of people doing programmatic direct with mobile, with video. and that's an understanding that you have to be very precise in the types of publishers that you marry with the types of buyers, right? So I think video is clearly the way that we will build brand in programmatic. And then the question is, how do you distribute that message, right? If you think back to the playbook that I just described. So when we're dealing with the distribution play, video is a great way to get the message out there. It's really how you do it, right? And what we've found is the two best ways to do it are, one, make sure you pay attention to mobile, because that's where the consumer is. And then also make sure that you have the right relationship with the right publishers. What's been amazing for me at Mexico is it's really a global conference. I think when I think 2-3 years ago, and people would ask me if I was going as somebody who's based in the United States, am I going to Germany, am I going to the conference? 2-3 years ago, you'd say, well, it's really a German conference, it's a European conference. And this year, it really is a global conference. The reason I'm here and the reason our customers actually requested that we have the presence we do is because the conversations they want to have are global conversations. So we're doing a couple things here. We are making sure we activate in region, in country effectively. We also, especially with our biggest customers, are having true global conversations. And that, I think, really is a trend of the industry. You have a situation with programmatic where the biggest customers, the biggest brands are able to operationalize a central global audience platform, but they have to activate locally. Right? And so it really is about thinking programmatically on a global level, but then acting locally in terms of how they operationalize and how they work with publishers especially. So that's been a huge trend here. The other thing we find is, around the world, people have marketers have the same need, which is, okay, given my customer, given my audience, how do I best reach them? And how do I use the right tools? And from that standpoint, the tool set is very, very common. It is a common language. The playbook I mentioned before, that's a common language. But each market is a little bit different, and you have to execute some of those plays a little bit differently, especially when you talk about media distribution. Germany is a much different marketplace than other countries. It's a marketplace where you really have to do a lot of programmatic direct because publishers have very specific concerns around data and data sharing. So the best way you can deal with that is by being very transparent as to who the buyer is, who the seller is, marrying them directly. They still want to use programmatic tools because it's so efficient, but you really want to marry them directly. So again, for Germany, it's a marketplace where programmatic direct is a very big deal. And we find every country is going to be a little bit different because you have to, again, act locally with your media and your media distribution while you're still centrally and globally providing a common, essentially common operating system, which is a programmatic platform that allows you to manage all your audience globally.